Hello and welcome. It's come to my attention that there isn't much information out there on these Evinrude 9.9 four-stroke engines. So I figured these next couple of videos I'm going to go ahead and change that. A couple of weeks ago I drove up to Cedar City, Utah, and once there I hung a right, and an hour later I was at Panguitch Lake. And there was some dude selling these engines. This is just one of them. I got a total of 8, I believe. 3 of them are these 1999 four-stroke 9.9s. I got a couple 8s and a couple of 6s, all from 1999. What I think happened was in '99 the resort got a chunk of money and bought themselves a bunch of outboards to use on their boats as rental boats. And it seems like as they slowly broke, they would just pull them off boats, stick them in the storage, and that's where they just kind of sat. Now, they are freshwater motors. The lake may not be the cleanest, and they've just been stored for, long time at this point. The problem is they were stored in the water filtration area for the lake. And in there is a nice, hot, humid climate, and not ideal for, engine/parts. So, I don't know. We'll see where we go. This one looks like the junkiest because it is seized up. There's one hole in the back of it missing all kinds of parts, and one that's all complete that turns and rotates. I believe to further your knowledge of engines, it's best just to rip one apart and see what it's like. So that's the plan for this one. And maybe we can see why it's seized up along the way. Alright, we have a stop switch up here, which we shouldn't have because this would be the entry for the cables if this was a remote electric start motor. But we have a slightly broken stop switch. So the resort people put one of these in, is what it is. So that shouldn't be there, so that's going to go. Alright, well, somebody already did that for me, it seems. But it is blocking the screw to get the 2 motor cover halves off, so it's got to go. So that's interesting, they used the seal to fill up the area. Yeah, whatever. Alright, want to get the 2 motor halves apart, so the first thing I'll do is take off the choke cable clamp. Now, what's interesting to me so far is the Torx. I think this is the first time I've used the Torx, and this is the first time I'm supposed to use a Torx to take apart one of these Evinrudes. So yeah, that was hard. Alright, the shifter has a little clip right here. It might be a little hard to see. There we go. Anyway, so the clip pushes down, back, and off. Shifter should kind of pry out of there. I'm sure there's another step to, you don't have to pry it, but I ain't gonna do that because this motor is kind of on the junky side anyway. Therefore, I don't care. If it comes off, I'm happy. Perfect. Motor cover screw off here. Custom. And we got a collection of Torx screws going down the side here. Couple more over here. Set that there. The shift handle is going to be a problem. 86 that right now. Grommet out of here. Hopefully that break not too bad. Actually, I get the hose out first. Now I'll take the grommet out. There it is. fuel line and fitting. I'm not going to be dealing with that, so cut-a-roo. Now we should be free, and there we are. So we can follow the shift rod up the motor, which is right here, and on this back side, which you can kind of see me rotating, is another clip. So we take off that shift rod clip. The back rod will now be free, and we can take off the lower. This is a thick, beefy prop. I mean, it's completely destroyed. The fins are just bent and mashed and mangled, and it's got a dent in it. Yeah, the thing is screwed up. No doubt there, but it's a thick propeller. Anywho, we have 3/8 bolts here. We got 6 on each side, 3 on each side, so 6 total. Hopefully they'll come out without any issues. I think they will, but we'll see. Well, we are still seized up. Going to remove the pull starter. Looks like we have 3 5/16 bolts. Putting that in, along with the shift safety lock right there on the side, which looks like it uses the fairly common little Evinrude clamshells. I don't know why I'm using these. They make a tiny little, special tool, a tiny little crowbar with little ends to do this. I got it somewhere, but I only used it a handful of times just because flat is usually easier, except for right now because there's no real way to get this on here. There we go. Starter works fine. The shift interlock works like so. Quite sensitive, and there's no detent to hold it into, usable. See right there. So there's the middle is where you need it to be for it not to hit, but it falls naturally in either way. It's just a safety feature. I don't care for it, but whatever. The detent is on the, it's on the shifter itself right up front. What is with these boots? Come on, get off there. Thank you. The flywheel, it'll move, but you hear a swishing sound. I'm wondering if the cylinders are full of oil. And I'm going to need another spark plug wrench, of course. No, yep. So I'm going to go ahead and vote the cylinders are full of oil, and that's why we're not spinning. If one of the exhaust or intake valve, or however 4 strokes work, was open when the engine was tilted backwards and oil made its way into the head, which it surely did, it would then make its way into the cylinder walls. Which, considering I can spin it now, lovely. I'm going to go ahead and guess that's what it is. So maybe the junkiest motor out of the bunch isn't going to be junky after all. Jeez. Alright, I gotta clean this up or something. Okay, I have turned the motor around at my desk, which is not something I like doing very often, but I need to get some speed on those cylinders to try to get oil out of them, so I needed to turn it around so it's easy to access the pull starter. As you can see, I just wedged some oil catch filters into the hole so I don't get oil over my walls. So we'll give it a couple of turns. I hear cracking from plug wire. So while we're pulling, might as well check that. It sounds like it might run. Oh yeah, that's sparking. Okay, one quick trip over to AutoZone. Setting the compression gauge with some adapters. They sold another one. Same gauge, but it had a braided hose and one more adapter. It's 12 more bucks. Yeah, I didn't buy that one. It should be a 12 millimeter spark plug hole. This is a 12 millimeter adapter. That's all I really need. I do vaguely remember getting adapters with my other compression gauge. I don't know where they are now though. Anywho, so in theory, this screws into here, and that will then screw into our motor. I don't know if I trust these kind of gauges. It's a little quick spring clip thing, but you know, we'll see. This thing feels cheap too. Now I'm sure it's the same cheap gauge as my Harbor Freight one here. I mean, it's nearly identical. Actually, this one might be a little smaller. Yeah, just this fancy rubber boot, I suppose, that's on it. So yeah, this I like. Nice and calibrated and works. This one, don't know, but we'll see. A little under 180. So oil-filled cylinders show the same, both shy of 180. If this is even slightly accurate, this will run. All right, well, there ain't no reason to rip apart a motor that works. So, might as well see what we can get out of it. I mean, if it runs, I say we make it run. Well, okay. I don't know what I'm saying, but basically, if we can get it to run, we might as well. Well, I got a little wire problem there with the coil. It's rubbed through over the years, so we can fix that. It's not an issue. It comes off the power pack. So yeah, that might be not that good. See what I mean? Where is it? It's rubbed through the insulation and the wire is exposed. So we can fix that little section of wire if we need to. I have other terminals and other boots, so I can crimp one on them if need be. So we can fix that. Carburetor itself is going to be a little tricky to get off. I'll show you that in a second. Yeah, there we go. See, little mini crowbar. It's supposed to help with ball sockets. Yeah, that's easy. Well, we're going to have a lot of those to do between this and the other engine, so it was worth finding it. So let's get this rewind starter off. We should have a flange nut in the rear, which we do, but we also just have a generic nut up top, or bolt nut, yeah, nut. The rear, little tricky to get to. That one shouldn't be an issue. Why the carburetor, you ask? Well, they always dirty. So rather than even trying, you just clean it up. There ain't no way I'm getting the carburetor screw or that nut off. They do make a special wrench for this. Yeah, well, we'll probably wind up finding that actually, because this is silly. But if I can get in there. All right, got the carburetor nuts off. We got a pile of oil in there. Got a pile of oil in the carburetor, so we'll have to address that. This being a brass fitting, I'm not too worried about breaking it. If it was a plastic, I'd be slicing the tube and squeezing it off. But as it sits now, I could probably reuse this fuel line. This being the 5/16, costs, what, $5 a foot or something like that. And we have a 2.5 foot line here, so if I don't need to break it, that'll save some money. So like I said, we got some oil in the carburetor. I'm interested to see how the float bowl looks. Yeah, 99. Nice. Alright, well, it's got to give it a little bit of a jolt. Wow, even that's full of oil. That's crazy. I really doubt this is from me transporting it. Like, how does that happen? Two-stroke, fine. The the fuel evaporates, oil stays behind. But why is the carburetor full of oil too? I mean, we could have serious other problems with this motor, but there's, I don't know. And okay, well, we have a cam-driven fuel pump here. Perhaps, as impossible as this can be, oil made its way through the cam into the pump, and while the engine was running, it pumped oil into the carburetor. Huh? I don't know. But either way, this is ridiculous. What I do like is this screw right here. In most outboards, that screw is the jet access. But no jet there. That is a drain. And it's right there on the side of the motor, so when you want to run these things out of gas, you can just, which again, a lot of people don't like doing, but you just pull the drain. That I like. I mean, how did that get full of oil? That is crazy. Because, let's say oil was in the intake there and found its way down here. It wouldn't go into the bowl. It would just drip out the front. This is wild. All right, let's get the oil drained here. And see how that looks. That looks good. Should have seen that. Okay, time to fix the power pack wire here. I don't know if I necessarily need to, but clearly it's a good idea to. Gonna trim back the tubing just a little bit. I can't put a splice in there and replace the tubing because it's the tubing won't fit over the splice. So the plan is to cut the tubing down a little bit like I did, put some heat shrink over the tube, and then connect the tube back together with the heat shrink. I mean, it'll be noticeable if you look for it, but I think for the most part, it'll look okay. We're missing the little protective boot that holds all that together, so I need to find a new little end. And right there looks like a nice one. Looks like it's threaded all the way on, so that'll be easy to duplicate. We should be 1/8 of an inch away, so we are quite a ways away. Do I care to fix it? Yeah, I don't know. It might be fine there. Service manual says it ain't, so we might as well fix it. That looks like a 3/8. Yeah, well, kind of. All right, our tiller handle will actually work again now. All right, here we have the timing belt right there. Here is the cam gear. On top of the cam gear, there's a little mark. That mark is now in line with that. And over here, there's a little white mark, which needs to align with the crankcase halves, which you can't really tell, but there's a split right there. Kind of see it. You are on an angle, you being the camera / viewer. I'm looking at it straight on, and that line lines up with that. So we know our timing belt hasn't jumped a tooth or anything weird, and we are in time. So there's no concerns there. Well, time to get the carburetor out of the auto cleaning bucket. Hopefully it's nice and oil free by now. Well, it seems the float's working. Well, I'm putting new oil in it. I am about that far from it being full. So another I don't know, a little bit of a quart, half quart or so. I'm using the traditional Evinrude stuff, of course, nothing but the best. With such a wide pour hole up top, you really don't need a funnel. It's kind of nice. See wrench marks all over the top. And that's probably for good reason. This is probably how the prior owner had to do it too. So if this motor turns out to be pretty good, I'm going to find a new one of these. Because I ain't doing this again. Carburetor has been cleaned. It's been reinstalled. Nothing really of note there other than I put on new flange nuts. That is the overboard indicator. This is the fuel line. You can see the evidence of the original hose clamp. So I'm going to trim off just a pinch, get a nice new hose out of it, and then I'll get one of the fuel line zip ties and put it on there. I don't currently know where my little zip tie tightening tool is, so I'll worry about that later. Alright, picked up the proper spark plugs for it, which is a R8HHC. In case you need to see it, which you probably do. Focus, you piece of junk camera. Oh, where are you going to focus? Right there? There you go. The gap on these is pretty extreme. It's 0.04 inch. It seems like a lot. Usually it's 0.03, but who am I to judge? So I've already gapped them. We're good there. I reinstalled the spark plug boot that fell off. So it's a matter of just putting these in there. Let's get the starter back on. Now I'm going to do something that I wouldn't normally do, and that is fire it up and see what happens. I don't want to go through the effort, cost, and time of fixing a lower unit for it if the thing just is completely dead or has a massive rod knock or I don't know. So, like I said, I wouldn't normally start it on the desk here, but yeah, it'll be fine. So we're going to get some fuel to it, if this thing works. Alright, fuel is a-flowing. Bulb is nice and firm. As far as I can tell, we have no fuel leaks. Let's give it a couple of pulls and see what happens. Manual choke. I thought 4 strokes were supposed to smoke less than 2 strokes. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Cylinders were completely filled with oil. It makes perfect sense for it to smoke like crazy like that. It's probably got some more smoke left in it. It's got to come out too. But we know it runs and it idles. High speed? Well, we'll find out. And also, since it was so loud, we couldn't hear any knocking or anything. But nothing was too obvious. So I want to say we might have a good candidate here to make a good motor. But it's going to need some more work. We need to fix the tiller handle stop switch. Mainly being because all the way down, engine idle's fine. So I can't do it like my old 2 strokes where you just lower the idle past where it's supposed to go and it dies and you're fine. Probably should fix the stop switch. And that's a problem and expensive. So maybe I'll put a button in it, you know, a stop button, because I don't care about the safety lanyard. Who cares about safety? But I'm kind of thinking I'll go rob one off one of the other motors. Give you an example. This is one of the other dead motors. The thing is, it's not dead. I don't know. Like, it feels just like the other one. I'm wondering if compression's okay, but then why do they rob parts off it? Or maybe this one had problems in the first place and they started robbing parts off it, and I don't know. But anyway, so basically what I'm getting at, you can't really see it because of the framing, but all of the bad engines that I got, they all have broken stop switches. The good engines, they have good stop switches, so yeah. I'm going to take one off the maybe good engine to fix that one. That kind of sucks. However, I don't think this engine is any good either. This one I figured I would make a video of dismantling one of these things, and that was going to be this motor, and then I was going to use its parts to fix this thing. Well, let me pull the dipstick out. See how melted it is compared to the other one? Let's pull the cap off here. Nice cap. I should just swap caps here. Let's see, it's all melted too. So, did this thing overheat? And if so, what kind of damage are we looking at? Well, it's getting late today, so tomorrow we will take apart the tiller handle, fix the stop switch, put the engine cowling back together, clean the motor up a little bit, best we can, and then find a lower for it. This lower, it is ugly, and it's also got a chipped fin. Do I care enough to go through all that? When that parts motor over there, it's got a real straight lower unit on it. So I'm thinking about just swapping the two. Basically what it's gonna come down to is which one's got clear gear oil in it, because I don't want to have to rebuild reseal the gear case if I don't have to. I do have a water pump, and I'm pretty sure I got a seal kit should I need it, but water pump's the more important part. But this plastic housing, it looks pretty nice. It may not really even need it. Okay, gear case option number one. The one that came off of here, the one I like the least. The top screw came right off. That's unusual. Let's see what it looks like. Nice and loose, and nice and empty. Alright, number two. I like the, well, that has no plug in it, and that's got no plug in it. This is a joke. Alright, well, we had no drain plugs in this. I'm guessing they were working on a motor, and they needed oil and or drain plugs because they lost them, so they dumped them out of this one. Because, you know, Cannibal Lecter, their mechanic, seems like, yeah, that seems like what they were dealing with here. Need a part? Take it off this motor. This one isn't on the boat right now. I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm guessing. All right, so let's bump it up. Let's see what happens. All right, we are at 20 psi, holding steady. Let's get our leak detecting fluid. No bubbles from that seal. Can't really get to the drive shaft seal or the shift drive. Well, I guess it's working. All right, well, if it shifts in and out of gear, we're using this one. All right, this is a Sierra water pump kit, the version without the housing. I bought a motor, and I think it was a 20 horse, and the guy's like, do you want this? I bought it, didn't fit. Yeah, sure. And it was sitting right below my shifter for, I don't know, good year. And here it is. Right off the bat, we notice we only have 2 little intakes instead of the 3 like we'd find with the Evinrudes. 9.9 needs a different water little grommet thing, so we're going to have to deal with that. The color feels fine, looks fine. See no issues with it. Still nice and rubbery. Plate looks quite nice. Gaskets, good. Seal, well, ain't nothing wrong with the seal, so yeah, we're good here. With the gear case kind of cleaned up, it doesn't smell like a wet fart anymore. So that's nice. It's a little cleaned up. I mean, it could be better. Got these 6 holes tapped numerous times. I went in there with a standard tap, cleaned out the threads. Then I went there again with a bottom tap, chased the threads again, cleaned the tap, did it all again. These threads were so gunked up full of stuff, it wasn't even funny. I cleaned the hardware there, so it's ready to go back in. I don't know what they had on there before. It almost looks like red Loctite because it was just goo, like glue. It held. That was pretty annoying to get this lower off, but I got it all cleaned up. It can go back together now. You should know, unlike earlier 2-strokes, this doesn't have a water tube. It has a little cavity that the grommet from the water pump sits in. So all we really have to do is align the drive shaft. It shouldn't be too bad. It's going to be kind of difficult, I think, to get the shifter in there. Well, not that bad, I guess. And if I need to rotate the flywheel, it's basically a good luck kind of thing. Yeah, I can kind of get my hand in there. Not so much, though. It turns out it was just the flywheel. I took some pressure off of the drive shaft crankcase, spun it just a hair, gave it a little more push, and it fell right in. So now it's a simple matter of coating the screws in the gasket compound or anti-seize of some type and putting them back in. All right, let's see what it's going to take to borrow the stop switch. Pull out these Torx. Still have a restart clip in it too. All right, well, this is going to suck. We got a zip tie there. holds it into the protective sheathing. Hopefully, if that zip tie comes off, we can slide the entire thing out. I mean, it's going to be a tight squeeze to get that out of that tube. But it went in, it should come out. Let's see if it just slides out for us. Sure did. And it looks like I'll get a 10 mil, get the ground off. Sorry, it's an 8 mil. Same thing. Like their use of anti-seize on there. That's nice. Both those disconnected. Seems like they'll slide out of there. There is, however, a protective little expanded tubing thing inside of there that I'd like to come with it, but I don't know if I'm going to get that lucky. If I find something to pull it with, or do one at a time. So there's that. This is what I wanted out. Oh yeah, piece of cake. So here's our stop switch assembly. This is available new, by the way. It's like 80 bucks. Not the end of the world. There's more expensive things on this motor to replace. So, them being available is kind of odd by themselves. Usually anything that has to do with those handles, kind of hard to come by. Alright, so there's our stop switch assembly. Before I rip this out of here, I'm going to crimp on another wire to use as kind of a puller. I don't know if this wire is going to fit in here actually. Anyway, the plan here is when I pull the new switch out, this wire will follow it. And I'll tie that wire to these terminals and pull it back through, and should make life halfway easy. Find out shortly. Alright, zip ties out. And we are sliding. But the sheathing stayed behind. There we go. Let's see if this works. It might, I don't know. Usually this doesn't go too well when you're trying to fish something through like this. It always comes undone. Or it doesn't. You know, usually it's like the third time you try, you get it and it's just perfect. We'll see. We can't finagle it a little bit. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, I know what I'm doing. Look at that. Uh-oh. Only one came through. That ain't good. A little soap in there, good measure. So I have myself some emery cloth paper here. Just kind of clean this up slightly. And the same with the pin terminal. There are some tools you would use to install these plugs. You don't always need them. Usually some soapy water and some force allows you to push the plug in. Yeah, about this time. Nope. Alright, well, tools it is. Hairspray is another one. Because see, when the hairspray dries, it leaves down some sticky residue. Water and soap may not be the best idea, but I mean the water will evaporate. And soapy is usually so weak in my little solution, it doesn't allow it to slide out. Maybe concerned with corrosion. Well, I'm going to get an air compressor, blow that out, and not plug it in for a couple hours. And by that time, when I'm ready, it'll be nice and dry inside of there. Therefore, not too worried about it. So there's the ground clamp that they cut. That is torque to spec, probably. Now, there's a new law around here saying that if your motor has one of these safety lanyards, you legally have to wear it. So, I don't know. Part of me was okay not having it there. Yeah, not that I would ever encourage you to do something unsafe. But sometimes it's nice not having to worry about the safety lanyard, you know? Anyway, so that is done. We'll save the parts from the other one, see if we can't, well, we definitely can, but install some type of other switch in there, like a little push button type switch or something. You know, and really you don't need anything. You just take the red piece off and, you know, you have a little push button. Okay. Got the motor covers back together. A longer screwdriver here. So yeah, the lower cover's back on. I got a new fuel line on it. Got the choke back where it's supposed to be. So everything's kind of looking good. I got some more of the factory gear case fluid. So I'm going to top this off. And by top it off, I mean fill it because it's completely empty right now. And we should be able to actually properly run this thing here and see what it's truly like in a few minutes. This is a quick process, taking only about 100 pumps, so this will be done in no time. All right. Let's get a proper propeller on this thing. That, of course, grease the splines. Just hold down the propeller nut and give this a couple of spins. Years ago I made a 9.915 video where I installed 2 of these motors onto a boat. This is one of the propellers off of it, the one that I showed you how to install the covering ring on. That's why it looks so much nicer than the rest of the propeller, because that was one of the last new ones that was available. You ain't buying one of those anymore. Well, it feels pretty nice. The first thing I noticed about this when I went to lift it was simply how heavy it is. Like, I thought I knew what I was expecting, so that's how much, you know, force I was trying to lift with it, and all of a sudden it's extremely heavy. So it takes, you know, 2 tries to lift this stupid thing because you weren't expecting how heavy it to be. Give you an idea, this is a 1/4-inch steel lifting eye. They didn't put that on there because it's easy to maneuver. I want to know what it actually weighs. The book says it weighs 104 pounds. I think a 9.9 is like 74 pounds or something like that. I'm not sure, but here in a moment we're going to see if this thing truly weighs. See. Okay, well they're not wrong. So yeah, it's heavy. You know, the other thing too, you can't just lay them on their back to transport them, because then the oil leaks out into the cylinder head and fills the cylinders and apparently the carburetor, and it doesn't run and it needs a lot of work. So there's that to consider. Like, you need to keep them upright. So yeah, there's no just throwing it in the back of the truck, which is going to be a issue when I go to sell this thing. Is, you know, it's got to be upright. What's the new owner going to do? Honestly, you probably just strain the oil for them. That way it's ready to transport. The thing is, potential buyers going to want to see it running. He may not like the trust me bro approach. Yeah, so that's we'll see how that goes. I don't even know if I'm going to sell this thing. I might hang on to it. Choke, pull. More choke, more throttle. We're going to need. The hose on full blast. Let's see. There we go. Blew through the hose. More water. It's peeing. Yeah, that's funny. Alright, well. Seems okay, huh? Let's throw it on the boat. I thought this was going to be a little overloaded, but the boat really doesn't seem to care. Like, there's no flexing or anything really weird going on. Water is quite low today. We'll see how the Power Ranger handles this sand here. Must say too, this engine looks pretty good back there. Too much gas, I'm guessing. Alright, well, we're peeing water, boat's moving. It's acting like it was the driveway before it warmed up. That's okay. Smells like my tractor. That's new. So the primer bulb, completely empty. Let's back up. Well, I've had it idling for 20 minutes. And, yeah, it's going fine. It's a little soft, kind of like, you know, after you've been running it. But it's fine at idle. Well, the thing runs really well at low to mid throttle. High, it's kind of could be some tuning, adjusting needs to happen. The bigger thing is it doesn't pump fuel at the high speeds, only at the low speed, low to mid. So we probably have a cracked or bad diaphragm on the fuel pump, and that's a little unfortunate. That means I have to do work to this thing. But no, it does. I don't know, this is half speed. If I sit here and I keep pumping the bulbs, it's actually fine. But the motor and the boat, porpoising is a thing now. I mean, this is totally the wrong motor for this boat. That wasn't full speed, by the way, that was about half. And every now and then I give it a pump on the primer and it runs fine. So I'm really leaning towards it needing a fuel pump. Anyway, I would like to point out how quiet and how slow you can go with this thing. It's got a two-stroke beat there. No doubt about it. Like it's nice for slow speeds. You know, considering how truly, I mean, I didn't put that much work into this thing. Think about it: oil, spark plugs, and a water pump, and some soap and water. That's pretty much it on this thing so far. Okay, tiller handle, hose clamps, fuel lines. Minimal amount of work, I'd say, still when it comes to an old outboard, and it is running. Now, I should have done more testing, such as the fuel pump / fuel pressure, oil pressure, tappets, valve adjustments, clearances, that kind of stuff. So there's more to check out. I would say we're a good 78% there of this thing being a good running motor. As it sits now, you can operate it just fine at slow to mid-range. Fast, full speed, fuel pump can't do anything and it just dies. You need a fuel pump, probably. There is a chance it could be the oil pressure cutoff switch. I doubt it, considering the primer bulb on the fuel line was completely empty and pumping it up, and then it was able to get more gas and start again. So there's that. The other thing I'm not too liking of it is it's got to warm up, and I understand that now. But what I don't like is pretty much every time you use it after it's been sitting for 20 minutes, heck, 10 minutes, you got to choke it again. It's not the one pull go kind of thing I'm used to with the two strokes. Now, it could be fine tuning and adjustments and that kind of stuff still need to happen, but for what I'm noticing as of right now, with minimal work put into it, it doesn't start as easily as I would like it to. But considering where we were to where we are now, we're doing pretty well. All right, so next video plan is to do the fuel pump. Following video after that will probably be more diagnostics. The reason for that is a lot of people will just search for what they want to do, like 9.9 4-stroke fuel pump. then they'll see my video. If it says, you see diagnosing a 9.9 or testing a 9.9 four-stroke, they may not watch it. They are interested in the fuel pump. Get more views and hopefully be able to pay for the cost of that fuel pump. I don't know. It may be a bad way to do it, but I think I'm going to give that a try. Sometimes, sometimes a full 2-hour video of how to check everything does phenomenally well. But sometimes short ones do too. So, I don't know. We'll see where this four-stroke journey takes us. But for now, that's it. Next, fuel pump. So, I'll see you all then.